Sober? Isolated? Yeah, me too. My name is Andrew, and I'm here to talk to you today about what you're doing to stay sober and sane during these trying times. This is Sober During Crisis. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining us at Sober During Crisis. I'm so excited for you to hear today's interview. Our guest is another sober comedian. Oh man, it's almost like this is becoming a thing, or just that I am one, so I know some. He's so high energy and entertaining on stage that it's honestly almost impossible to tell that he's sober, but he has a math number of years, no drugs, no alcohol, and a very clear message: it gets better. So stick around to hear it firsthand from Matt Woodland, and let's learn some stuff together. How you doing? Right. Holy shit, it's been so long.
I know, such a while. It's should I turn it, what if I turn it on airplane mode? Will this still work? Because some like part of this group chat that is going buck wild right now. I got it.
Hello?
Hi, sorry. I never even used airplane mode before. I don't know why even like it occurred to me as an idea, because I've never tried it before in my life.
It just turns off all your connections to the outside world. It's like, hey, do you want to be in the universe instead of on Earth?
That's exactly the opposite of what I need.
Oh my God. Do you want to introduce yourself really quick just so I can cut it and paste it at the beginning?
Hell yeah.
Let's go.
Say when? Where should I go right now?
Yeah, right now. Ready, go.
Hi, everyone. I'm Matt Woodland. Good stuff.
This is amazing. Fucking. Can I ask you how long you've been sober?
Yes, I've been sober like about 7 years now.
Holy shit, dude! I didn't know that. That's awesome.
I actually lost track. Wait, let's do it. So my date is November 3rd, 2012. Is that 7 or 6?
2012.
Like, I'm not exactly sure what my age is exactly, and I'm not exactly sure what my sobriety date is exactly. I think it's 6 years though. Wait, maybe 7.
8. I just counted to 8. 13. Was that 2012? What? 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
Where are we at now? 18,
19, 20. We're 2020, right? Yeah, 2020. Oh my God.
20.
Are we sober?
So it'll be 8 once I get to November. So that means I've been 7 now.
Yeah, you're at lucky number 7.
Beautiful, legendary 7. Okay.
Holy shit, that's awesome. I know exactly. I think I'm 29. I might be 28. I actually don't know.
It's honestly, it's literally impossible to know for sure.
Oh my God, dude. So do you think that this whole thing is just an elaborate, the coronavirus is just an elaborate liberal scam to kill off all the Trump supporters? Like, let's get down to business here. Let's get down to brass tacks.
Well, I'll tell you this much. I haven't seen a coronavirus. Tactilely, I haven't touched a coronavirus. Well, maybe I have, for all we know. But I haven't, I've been trying to find it. I've been looking at people in the eye to see if they have it. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but I feel like I'd be able to see in their eye, you know?
I think you have to kiss eyes. I think your eyes have to touch.
I wonder if do you think you have it? Because it's one of those, I'll bet you it's one of those things that I could easily have and not know. That's my fear, that how many people have I destroyed? How many lives, how many families have I destroyed? Just carrying it, but not not feeling the symptoms myself.
So so we had a really sketchy, methed out mover. I just moved last week, which was fucking...
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and it's great. Like, I'm happy that I moved, but because I'm finally living with my partner, and we've been waiting and waiting. Like, we were high school sweethearts. It's been, like, literally a long-ass time of waiting. And then we finally move in, and it's like, great, now we're quarantined together, and this is how people get divorced.
That sounds like, the test of all tests. Because I used to, whenever I was, like, in a relationship, I would have troubles in snowstorms. I would, like, come hell or high water, I'd be like, I'm going out for milk and eggs. Yeah. We don't need milk or eggs. Don't worry about that.
Exactly. All right, so we had this, like, methed out mover, and, like, I'm pretty sure that he has he had coronavirus. He literally said to me, he's like, my friends' roommates all have it, so he's staying with us. And I was like, why are you telling me this? You're touching all of my things. Like, all of my things have been touched by you.
That's really bad news. Yeah, that's precisely what you don't want to hear when somebody's touching your stuff, I would assume.
Exactly. So now I feel like there's an elephant sitting on my chest. I'm like, okay, anytime I cough, I'm like, that's it. I'm dying. I'm killing everyone I know.
Yeah.
And
I've been noticing a bunch of like phantom symptoms. Like the other day I was screaming at AT&T for a while. And then like right after I got off the phone, I had each and every symptom that you could possibly have from coronavirus. But then when my issue got solved, everything went right back to normal. So now I can't even trust myself.
Oh my god!
Even if I get it, it's gonna be Boy Who Cried Wolf. I'm like, yeah, all right, buddy, you're just stressed out.
That's because AT&T is a disease of its own. Like
from your lips to God's ears. Oh my god, so true.
I know it's important to keep politics out of sobriety, or I guess I don't know that, but I'm assuming that that's true. But like the one thing that Trump and I agree on is that Comcast sucks ass. Like I heard him talk shit about Comcast the other day. I was like, fuck yeah, we agree on something.
Yeah, you must know something.
You must.
The Donald. What did he say recently? He's always got some quotable quotes. Whenever he says something, then I try to write it down. There's some things he says I try to just sort of work into my vernacular. I just remember that time when he had a bunch of Burger King or whatever in his place, and then he said, "We have many, many fries." That was so cool. I try to say that.
We have many.
Whenever there's plenty of fries, I try to say that. But.
Do you remember Homestar Runner, Teen Girl Squad? Was this
I don't think so. No.
Okay, this is like an early 2000s website. I highly recommend Google search. I will like see if it's still a thing, and if it is, I'm gonna share it with you. They had all these like web comics like before, like when the internet, like when it was like E-Bombs World. Do you remember E-Bombs World?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so it was like that era, and everything they said, I would like take it, put it in my back pocket, and just walk around saying it. It's also when you're 14 and your personality comes from everywhere else.
That's perfect. That's how any amount of humor I had. The only I took everything I did was through David Letterman, his some of his antics at the desk, and then Tom Green show. That was 100% of who I was for a little bit.
Tom Green, I
really am a combination. Yeah,
dude, I'm not gonna lie. If you hadn't told me that and someone made me guess, I might have guessed that.
Yeah, I'm pretty much. Yeah, I'm not an original. Don't get it twisted. I'm not an original thought at all, my friend.
I don't know. I saw your I shared it. I don't know if you can see when I share your stories to Alex, but she wants me to ask you a question. Actually, this is a listener caller, aka Alex, asking. She wants to know: would you rather fight? I cannot. Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck?
Yeah, well, this is the age-old question, and the thing is, are these duck-sized horses? Is it a swarm mentality, or because I swear to God, I would never grow tired of just kicking a fucking little horse in the goddamn neck.
Oh my God!
Are you kidding me? When would I grow tired of just like wallop, like one solid wallop to the neck? That thing's down.
Oh
but my question is, do they have the ability to swarm? Do they have the ability to like, hey, I'll distract him from the front and then I'll pounce on his back? Like, do horses even leap that high? They're that small.
Yeah, they be jumping over some random shit. I don't know. I'm not like a blue ribbon, like fucking. What is the thing that little girls are in? 4-H, four heads. I don't know. 4-H club, I think. Yeah, that's so. I said definitely if I had 10 bowling balls, I would pick the 100 duck-sized horses, and then what's left, I'd just kick it.
Only if you had 10 bowling balls?
Yeah, because I could like just bowl them over, like, you know, hopefully 10 at a time. If I don't get 10 strikes,
I don't know, man. I feel for me, bowling balls would be a hitter. I'd be like, hey, man, can you hold my bowling balls for a second? And then I'd just, hi-ya! You know what I would do? I would just step on the back of their necks. Like, I don't know if this is a family-friendly pod, but I swear to God, there would be nothing that would just like, hi-ya, the back of their necks. That's where they're weak. That's why they have those beautiful manes to try to get people to not step on the back of their necks.
I think this is family friendly, especially now because that is just the premise to Angry Birds. Like,
oh, is that right? I never played that, but I am no stranger to like sneaking up on a bird feeder and just strangling the life out of a chickadee. That's just me though. But that's how. Hey, we all stay sober on our own. right?
Yeah, that's like, yes, my number one tool, strangling a chickadee.
Hey, it's cathartic.
Do you have any comfort shows or comfort podcasts you've been turning to in these stressful times?
Oh, do I? I feel like, honestly, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how much of my lifestyle has changed too much, to be honest. Because there's part of me is like a secret fantasy of mine. Oh my God, wouldn't it be nice to like not do comedy? But I would only not do it if everyone else was also not allowed to do comedy. So it was like a very unique time that I'm just like, oh, thank God we can all just like pause our lives. But I digress.
No, oh, dude, I fucking feel that. I'm like, nothing right now is funny anyway, and I felt like that before, but I'm like, I guess I'll just keep going to these mics.
Gotta keep going. Yeah, there is nothing. I don't know. But pods, endless pods that I listen to all the time that I don't know if I'm not sure if there's exactly a go-to per se. What have I listened? Recently I watched the latest season of Curb Your Enthusiasm. What else did I do? Before that, I watched I guess this is probably before the pandemic anyways, but I watched the entire season or the entire series of The Sopranos. It's called boring.
Wait, that is so weird. Was that like January, February?
I guess so.
Because that's what I literally was watching that. I was like, I've never seen this. I bought Hulu Live so I could watch like the Super Bowl, and it came with HBO. So I was like, all right, I guess I'm watching The Sopranos. It was my family. I was like, I'm watching my family on TV. It's just
for me, it's like I knew like all the references and stuff like that, and if there's something I hadn't seen before, but it's like, especially being like a boy of a certain age, like in his mid-30s, never seen The Sopranos, that's not exactly acceptable to fit in. Yeah. So I just pretended I seen The Sopranos, and I went through all of life with anyone in my life just assuming I saw Sopranos. I knew a few lines. I knew like the plot points. Retroactively, now I have seen them, and I wasn't lying retroactively.
Retroactively, I wasn't lying. That is bars.
I've seen them now. Technically, I hadn't seen them back then, but I seen them now. And back then, I already knew the things that I needed to know to fit in. So, jokes. Who's the joke really on?
Retroactively, I wasn't lying is probably one of my favorite just philosophies for life. I think I did the same thing. I'm like, well, I'm Italian, so I should pretend like I've seen this show. But I hadn't. I just had been to a lot of Italian family Easter gatherings. And it's pretty similar, honestly. Not too different.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I would. There's some part of me. There's some like that fantasizes like I definitely glorify any of that Italian and like any of the Scorsese. I'm like, those guys. That's a legitimate way to behave. How cool is that?
It's so weird how it's like this. I'm so macho, but it's like you're really just like a family guy with a gun. But all right.
Oh yeah, family guy with a gun.
Have you seen this Tiger King? I keep hearing about it, and I'm trying to figure out if it's worth watching.
Let me tell you. I've seen the half of the first episode, and I'm pretty compelled. But can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
A couple months ago, my friend, I listened. There's a whole podcast about it, and this boy listened to the entire thing.
Oh my! What is do you know what the podcast is?
Actually, specifically a season of some other podcast, and I don't remember the name. I'll bet you if you search Tiger King podcast, it'll come up.
All right, I searched it. It's Robert Moore's The Wondery podcast, and the name of the series is Joe Exotic, Tiger King. And according to this Refinery 29 article, it explores the, quote, nooks and crannies that the Netflix docuseries does not get to. So it's a little more in-depth. I haven't listened to it, but there you go. Thank you, Robert Moore, for your service.
I look forward to watching the whole thing. I guess
it's almost like having previous knowledge makes you inherently interested. I don't know. I'm like, oh, I want to see how they dramatize this.
Because now I'm like the new way of saying, yeah, the podcast was better. They go more in depth. Act like when the book, when the book is like, yeah, you got to read the book.
Podcast is better.
I really do feel like the podcast is like the thinking man's Netflix series.
Wow. Oh my God. I'm putting that in my back pocket too. That shit's fire. Yeah.
Thanks, dude.
Well, hopefully so I'm doing this because it's been tough. Like I have 9 months sober, and I mean, I think the last time we were hanging out was before, like pretty much right before I went to rehab, and then you moved to New York when I got out. So it was like,
yeah, that's right.
So my life is like drastically done like a 180 since last year in a good way. I mean, I thought it would be boring. It turns out it's not very boring to just pay all your bills on time, but I don't know. So I'm just wondering, well, first of all, I want to know, how hard is it being a sober comedian in New York City?
It's well, to be honest, it really is one of those things. Maybe it's like a combination of time and experience. Because right now I have so much experience, sort of being, around people that are drinking or whatever and stuff, and it really does become like it's out of sight, out of mind in a way where it's like it doesn't occur to me. Like it doesn't occur to me like that I'm actively not drinking. It's so ingrained with my personality and like my sense of who I am, my sense of self, that it's really it becomes really second nature. But that's not to say you also can't forget that. You can't just like put that totally out of your mind. Yeah, I mean, with drinking and being around comedy, that kind of thing doesn't particularly trigger me so much. And it's also like in this day and age, there's so many sober comics that it's really like,
Right.
It almost is like kind of like like a comic that's still like drinking and doing drugs. It's just like, what is this? What is this? The 80s?
That's exactly what I was just going to say. What is this, the 80s? Yeah, I got sober and I realized like, oh, no one is really drinking the way I was. Like, it's so weird. I thought everyone was on my level. It's like, oh, it's one person.
Yeah, and that's like their things. Like they drink and they don't progress in comedy, and they're just like, and that's exactly what I was. I was like, I didn't write when I was drinking. I didn't write any jokes. A lot of people would say, Matthew, you still haven't written a joke. Don't worry about that. Baby steps. On. But wrote in a joke. I'm pretty sure that's a word. But no, but I was like, I would just go up there and I would just scream at people. And it was funny once in a while. I do have a few videos of me just blackout drunk yelling. And I could actually still appreciate that guy just a little bit. I used to just scream at this guy for his terrible T-shirt he'd wear. It just is this like really huge like V-neck T-shirt. I'm like, you know what, that guy, that's a good point. I was speaking truth to power. Come to think of it, but
the best joke you ever wrote in was about that T-shirt.
Look at that V, too deep.
Too deep.
I can see your navel.
You know, I did not know you were sober. I remember specifically one time sitting and watching you do this bit. I don't know if I'd never seen you do it again, but it was about the sandwiches in East Hampton, the ones that are either 6 inches or 18. And you just went through like, what am I, Mary-Kate and Ashley? And then you're like, 14 inches, that's... And I couldn't stop laughing. And that, I think because of that, I just thought you were drunk, because I'm like, how could someone possibly ramble about sandwiches for 5 full minutes and not also be drunk?
Right. Yeah, that's probably that's my prized possession bit. That's probably my personal favorite thing, but usually it'll alienate everybody except that there'll be one person just loving it, and that'll be like the Inch Buxton or something. There'll be somebody in there just like, all right, I'm gonna go with this sandwich forever. But generally, I did that in Boston one time because it's the grinder routine. I call it, and it's grinders, but they call it, I don't know, they call it like hoagie or some bullshit up in Boston. So they didn't even know what I was talking about. They're like, what is this? What, gay dating app?
Oh my God. Wait, what do they call them? Subs? I thought they were grinders up there too. What the fuck is this?
Yeah, I don't know. Heroes. I don't know. But so it's that routine has died so many terrible deaths. But it's still my favorite thing to do. Just probably because it is just like there's like an anti-comedy to it.
For sure. Yeah.
I'm not a big, I'm like, it's like, let's beep ba. There's nothing I hate worse than a setup punchline. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I really do. I think I was at that point before I started, and then as I like continue to go to mics, I'm like, oh, I just hate it even more now. But
yeah, it's weird. Oh my! I gotta tell you, New York City. If you think you hate comedy, there's some great. Obviously, there's some great. A little known fact: there's some great comedy in New York City, but it's amazing how much. Because the bad comedy, what's really infuriating. Because right now around here, you can tell a bad comic. They look like a bad comic. They act like a bad comic, and they're just like But like in New York City, there's so many terribly unfunny comics, but they have the cadence right. They're like working the industry right. Like they're getting little spots. Established places, and it's just like this is horrendous, but it's like they're working this other angle and it's so infuriating.
No, I think I know exactly. There's some Hartford comedians where I'm like, how are you on so many posters? Like, I've seen you and you make me really mad. I've seen some opening acts for big time people, and the opening is way funnier than the headliner, but it's just a matter of marketing, and it's just a matter of who you know. And I hate that that's true, because it's true for everything.
Yeah, you like to think there's only like so far that marketing and just being unfunny can take you, but then maybe not. Because is there?
You like to think
Is
it. When you moved from the Western Mass scene, I was like, wow, Matt really went to everything, and it felt like you just had this. And I don't know if this is true or if you were just putting this out, but it felt like you just had this straight up love for comedy, and you were just there to fucking have fun and be chill. And I like really, especially when I found out you were sober too, I'm like, that just like, I just love that. Like, it made me so like, I don't know, it made me miss you, man. But at the same time, I was like, wow, I really respect that, and I admire just the dedication to the art itself.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you. I do. Yeah, I don't know exactly what I always kind of wonder what the motivation is. I think my sense of self-identity is so wrapped up in like attempting to be a comedian. And so because sometimes it's definitely not like, it's rare that I'm like, yeah, I'm excited to go do comedy right now. Like, that's not a thing that I relate to at all. I'm super excited when a show gets canceled. I'm like, there's some motivating factor where it's like, where it's like, I know no matter what, I know like nothing, there's no like thing like, well, I need to like achieve this or else I'll give up. It's just like, I'm just going to keep doing it until I die. And I realize that. I don't know why that is, but I recognize that that's true.
It's almost like a job. Like, that's what a job is. You show up every day, and that's what a job is.
It's just the worst. Yeah, it's the worst paying job. It's a job where I have to spend my own money.
Yeah. And go through so much shit to get there. Do you have any hints, tips, or tricks for someone specifically during the isolation? Like, what are you doing on a day-to-day to just stay sober?
I mean, for me, my huge thing is really just sort of structuring out my day. I mean, right now I'm still doing like food delivery, so I'm part of the essential worker people.
Oh, cool.
Which I'm really grateful for, because I get out of the house and like sort of structure my day, sort of make sure I wake up at a time. And yeah, for me, structure is super important, and to try to feel like you're having some kind of like purpose, or like, for me, it's like my whole life I need to feel like I think doing comedy filled such a void for like when I quit drinking and drugs. It's like, okay, I have like a goal in life, I have a mission, and it's like I'm doing things day to day to work towards that. And I think it's a little bit, for me at this time, is hard, because it's like so much of my identity is like wrapped up in doing comedy, that I'm like, I definitely recognize that this time was like, okay, not being able to have this outlet is like a reason why I would drink or do drugs. So I kind of recognizing that, and then trying to like right now, I'm just sort of like, living very, very low rent. Like, okay, I'll take this time to maybe try to like save up some money or something. Just sort of like try to like structure in a way where I feel like I'm not just like stuck. Because I think like feeling stuck and feeling claustrophobic and stuff, it's like, that's the thing. It's like, I got to get out. Like the idea of like me having drugs, like, I got to get the fuck out of here. God damn it. And that's like the prevailing thing. And then of course, probably one of the most important, especially like in early, I mean, for me, it was imperative, especially in early recovery, to stay in contact with just other people that are sober. And, if you're working a 12-step program, be it a sponsor, be it, other people in the program. I mean, for me, that was like, I cling to that, especially like in recovery, just cling to like people in the 12-step. And definitely there's no, like, for me, I don't think I would have stayed clean without that specific structure of 12-step meetings and that kind of thing. Yeah. But it's like, now it's like I don't do that nearly as much, and I've sort of like developed other ways and other structures in my life and other sources.
You have a community. Yeah. The comedy scene is absolutely a community. So it's, if you have that, and you don't want to ruin that. I know for me, forming superficial like connections with people, and then being like, man, I wish I had friends, like, and now it's like, I don't know, I feel like I actually talk and listen. It's weird listening when people talk,
Yeah, I still don't do that, but I've heard good things. I've heard good things. Like right then, I was just like, I was waiting for the noise to stop, so it'd be Matthew's turn to talk.
I hate you. That is not true.
No, I hear you. Yeah. But it's like, the thing is, I think it is like right, like I've set up my life in a way that it would be so incredibly inconvenient for me to like drink or do drugs. Like it'd be such a whole to do. Like,
Yeah.
like it really does. It really is. I think it is a matter of just sort of time and longevity. Like staying sober is definitely not a daily struggle for me. And like, even in times like this, which is, I'm super grateful for, because it was, for, you know, especially in the beginning, it's like there's times where you just have to very specifically and deliberately, like, right now,
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm gonna do right now. First, I don't know what I'm gonna do in the situation. First and foremost, I'm not gonna drink.
Yeah, that's where I'm at, dude. I'm at the 9
Right.
months, like I'm having a little sober baby right now, and I can't fucking. I honestly am so like grateful that I've stayed sober at all. I had a moment last week where I went like, this is the time. Like this would be the time that I would typically. I've tried to get sober so many times, and normally I would give up, and instead it kind of, I don't know, I was like in the shower or something stupid. I was doing some stupid menial task, and it hit me, like probably washing the dishes, which is what I feel like I've just been washing the dishes for 2 weeks. So my job is canceled, right? I'm a teacher, so I can't go to work, and
Right.
I'm sober, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, how am I gonna freaking stay sober? How am I gonna do this? Because it's a day-to-day struggle still, to an extent, not probably more like every other day-to-day struggle. And like I was like, I need to talk to other people about then, like hearing you just now say basically it gets better and it gets easier. That's so helpful to hear, honestly.
Yeah, I think at times I take it for granted how easy it does become, because it's really not a thing where it's like, it wasn't even like when this happened, it doesn't even cross my head like, oh man, how am I going to stay sober through this? It's just, it becomes so second nature. And I think but you have to first, like, you have to recognize and like congratulate yourself for getting through those times. Like, all right, this specific time right here is when I would turn to this, and
Yes.
I'm very deliberately not doing it. And like this idea of like, you're recognizing that and be like, all right, let me create a podcast about this. Like that's genius. That's a genius thing, because you're making content, you're like structuring, and like you're, you know, being useful to others. And this, what a genius way of combating that. That's great.
Oh,
and
thanks, dude. I appreciate that. I realized, okay, I have to schedule my day now. I have to get up because I have 3 interviews today, and I have to finish cutting down the audio, and I have to talk to my art person about the icon. And these are, and so, like, these are so stupid. Like, I didn't care about this last week because it didn't exist last week, but it's keeping me sober. Because it's like, well, it's a thing I want to do, you know? But hearing that it gets better is like, there were times last year where I had 3-4 months, and then I would get into an argument with someone and go drink over it. And now, like, if I get in an argument with someone, I'm just going to punch a wall. Like, I'm not, I mean, you know, worst case scenario, not like every time. Not like, but worst case scenario, I punch a wall. I'm not at a point where it's like, okay, drinking, like, it's really not on the table. And then this happens. It's like, fuck, my whole weekly meetings are all weirdly online, and I have to look at people's feet or whatever, something.
Yeah, you can exchange addiction with just look at feet or whatever.
No.
Look at them wiggling. God bless. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, you heard that right. That's right.
Look at them wiggling.
Yes.
I relate to, because I was in the beginning, I was never like a one and done sobriety. For me,
Yeah.
it was constantly like, 4 months here, boom, go out. And it was, it was about, it's like maybe I'd get past a certain hurdle or whatever. But yeah, there'd always be that thing. It was always hard, especially for me. It's like relationship issues was always such a trigger. Sort of like my sobriety being like entangled in this other relationship and their sobriety. And, but yeah, it was just all these things. And then once I got past sort of like all those things, like, and got through it, once you have any amount of like experience getting through all sorts of different life scenarios without drinking, then it's like, it does eventually, it just becomes second nature. And I think that's one thing I take it so for granted, because it truly is. So I don't know if people say this, I don't know, but it's so easy. It's so easy to say sober, because it's just like, I can't, honestly, I was trying to think of an analogy of like a food I don't like, but clearly I like all the foods. But let's say hypothetically I didn't like lima beans.
Okay.
It'd be like,
you like lime? Okay, keep going.
I fucking think they're pretty good.
Yeah, they're all right.
I don't have any beef with lima beans, but for the sake of argument,
okay,
it's just like, hey Matt, whatever you do, don't eat lima beans. It's like, yeah, wasn't thinking of it. I wasn't planning on it. But it's not a great analogy because then at one point, what is this? Like, I used to love lima beans.
Yeah, you were like obsessed. Like, I gotta crush these lima beans up and get them in my nostrils. Okay, let's see. 35.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not one for analogies. But it is, yeah, it's the truest thing that people used to tell me was like, it gets better. I was like, oh, snap, it gets really fucking easy. I guess maybe there's a point where it's just like, yeah, where it's like, it gets easier and you're like, you recognize that. But then you're also like, you can't be arrogant about it. Like, I'm fucking invincible. Because I do recognize there's times, like, I'll tell you the time that I'm triggered the most is the fact with, like, weed being legal now. And like, and that's, I always hated weed.
Right, same, dude.
Like, it never did anything for me.
Yeah.
But it definitely triggers the fact that it's so readily available in all these forms that weren't available when I was using. Like, that's something that I have to keep an eye on. Like, okay, I can see how.
Because it's almost like a new toy. Like, I feel the same way. I did not like smoking weed. I would do the thing where I would have to go into the bathroom and convince myself that I was still breathing. And like, you're not dead. Don't worry, you're not going to faint. And then do that just over and over again for 3 hours.
Yeah. I never had that, whatever the good feeling is, whatever the reason people do it, that was definitely not me. I mean, that's probably why I turned to all like drugs and like stuff that maybe if we did it for me, then I would never like hit a bottom or something. I could just, because there's a lot of people out there that are just the worst and they smoke weed all the time, but it's like, it's just like, this guy's kind of the worst and they're always high and they're annoying.
That's a good way of thinking about it. I like that. I feel like if you had a normal childhood, then you like weed. Does that sound fair?
It's definitely fair. Yeah,
right? Like, if you weren't traumatized over and over again growing up, maybe you can enjoy some weed without having a full-blown panic attack. My sisters both can't smoke weed either. So I think...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
So if you have daddy issues...
There's a lot of dull people that enjoy weed. I'm thinking of them all right now.
No, and I get like that it has medical uses.
Yeah, it's a weird thing how, like, okay, there's this thing that you have all this evidence is something you actually don't even like, but that the fact that that's still tempting is like, there is like, we used to like check in, am I an addict, am I an alcoholic, and then but I think it is like exemplified in that there is part of me is always going to try to sneak me into using drugs and escape in some way, even if it's like, hey, this weed is like, you clearly don't like it. So why? Like, it's crazy. Why would I be tempted by this thing that I have all the evidence in the world that I don't even enjoy?
Do you have any resources that a newcomer might need, or what worked for you in the beginning that we can pump out to the universe?
I was a pretty traditional like 12-step guy. I would do 12-step meetings and stuff like that. So that was really what I clung to. And all the resources involved in that was pretty helpful for me. Other than that, I was always a big therapy guy.
Yeah.
I still am. I'm not in therapy currently, but I would be if I had if I had my life together a little bit more.
If I had a therapist.
If I had a therapist, I'd be a therapy guy. Those were big for me. 12-step meetings and resources and therapy. What else do I get? The fact that I'm doing comedy and there's so many sober comics and there's a lot of like sort of my comedy heroes growing up that are all sober. It's a really, the fact that there's so many people that sort of like I idolized growing up that are sober, it was really helpful to me.
Yeah. And I don't like the Zoom meetings as much, but I still am doing the Zoom with my home group because that seems like, it's like, if I'm going to do it, I should definitely do it and see the people that I know the most.
Yeah, for sure. It's a weird time because I'm so like, I find myself really adverse to it and just like, but it's a weird thing where it's like, this is awful. But also I really recognize how ingenious it is that this technology and these people are able to put together this stuff. So I'm in such conflict about like technology and like everything in my life where it's just like, oh, this sucks. This is amazing. I can't believe that this is available right now.
Dude, say I haven't done any. Have you done any of the online open mics?
Oh God, I did. I did. I kind of did one, but it turned into. Nobody really did material. They're just kind of like laying on their bed, like eating like chips or something. I don't know.
See, feet. What's with the feet? I don't.
in the wiggling feet, which I know is your thing, but I'm from a bygone era. We weren't so big into the feet.
I don't get
it. Call me old fashioned, but give us all rigidity.
Back in my day, we liked titties.
We like genitalia. We did. We loved it.
Regular
Loved the
road titties.
Hey, kids, millennials, and their wiggling feet. Yeah. So it's a weird thing where it's. I recognize that it's good and like and I really like the people that are putting like the stuff together. It's amazing that it's like, and it's so great that they're putting these things together. And then I just recognize in myself that I'm just like, oh my god, I'm a bit of a Luddite, and
No, you're not.
I don't.
I mean, maybe you are. I don't know. You be eating grinders and shit.
I think that like for me to try to like compare it to, because I don't think you can do stand-up comedy online. Like I think whatever the magic of live stand-up, like I honestly don't even think you can really watch stand-up comedy specials and have it be anywhere near stand-up comedy. Like I just think it's a different thing.
Right. I feel like when I'm watching like a stand-up comedy special on Netflix, I feel like I'm watching a seminar or a lecture, and right. the intention is for me to be sitting there. I don't know if it's because I'm a comic, but to be sitting there taking notes on joke structure and body language and crowd work. Like I feel like I'm more sitting there and just like observing rather than participating.
That's how exactly. Yeah, that's exactly how I feel. Because I think what they like doing like sort of like the writer workshops and all this other stuff makes a lot of sense. I always the actual like let me like do a set on Zoom always comes across as like, oh, this is sheer unadulterated pain.
Right.
But I think there's a bunch of people that are doing some really cool things online, and I just have to recognize like, okay, I dip my toes into there a little bit, but let's call it what it is. It's just a bunch of nerds online.
Yeah, it reminds me of the 12-year-olds who have YouTube channels who are kind of just like watching themselves talk. Like that's
it's a bunch of Poindexters and nerds online. It's like we're cool IRL people,
You're like different. Them singing "My Heart Will Go On" really off key, but it's like this is my set.
Geez, there's my set, guys. Yeah, they're just
and that's kind of my impression of the 12-step meetings online too. I mean, I'm not saying don't go to them, but it's hard. I feel like less like I'm a part of a dialogue or a community where people are sober. It's like a weird like display of you're talking about your problems, and I know that you're probably not even wearing pants. As some of you may know from listening to episode 1, I did eventually start attending more Zoom meetings, and they did eventually start growing on me. If you haven't heard episode 1, go listen to it. Maureen is dope. I have yet to attend any virtual open mics, but I'm extremely busy live streaming how bad I am at Fortnite on Twitch and YouTube, so
it might be something to do with our age or like being, I don't know what it is, but it's just like, I feel completely, there's this like communicating like that. Like, I feel very disconnected, like from the thing. Like, it doesn't feel like real life. It doesn't feel like this pertains to, like I'm actually with other human beings. And I think I don't think that's the way it necessarily is by default, but I think, my relationship with this new medium, this new technology, it makes like my going into it, I'm just like, oh, I feel like an outsider. I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. I feel self-conscious. I don't feel like I'm connected to these people. Yeah. And then I also, whenever it's like I see a bunch of faces sort of moving with a little bit of lag, I just have this like, I get this headache.
A little bit of lag.
I just hate it. I despise it. Yeah. That's the feeling I feel. It's like I hate this, but I have to recognize that I'm an old duck coming into this, and this is, eventually it's bound to happen. Like it's my version of like kids these days.
Right. I think we can circle back and go ahead and say that the podcast was better.
I love a podcast. There's something about, for me, my favorite thing, like my number one thing I have always wanted to do before doing stand-up is I always wanted to be a talk show, like radio guy. Yeah. And then when podcast came along, like secretly, my ambition with stand-up is to get popular enough that I could have a successful podcast. And then for me, like that's when I find people at their funniest, is just like cracking wise on a podcast.
Yeah.
Love it. I love a podcast. And like, that's like, get the visual out of it. Get the visual, just a nice audio like right now, like I feel like if I was looking at you, I'd be all self-conscious.
Super self-conscious. Yes.
You just see me. I'm just sitting in my car at the Cumberland Farms parking lot, just like gesturing with my hand, pontificating. And I'm periodically holding up a sip of coffee.
I'm painting my toenails and no.
How many? Oh my God! You counting at home?
How many? Yes, if you can tweet at sober during how many feet references? No, this is like I'm probably gonna cut them all. Just cut them all. Cut all the feet off. Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing this, and I really appreciate it. I feel like you gave, I don't know, personally, you gave me a lot of hope that it's gonna get better. Like, it stresses me out on a day-to-day or minute-to-minute basis, but if I zoom out and look at the bigger picture, that it's not gonna be shitty forever. So just like kind of keep on trucking.
Oh yeah. And it really is. It is so worth it. Like right now, you truly are. You're doing the hard work that the future self is going to reap the benefits. Like it's probably not going to like. Yeah, it just the experience of like getting sober. It's such a long, arduous process in the beginning.
Yeah.
But then it's so easy. Yeah, to be free from like that is like the only coping thing. Like that's what it was for me. Is like I drank because I didn't have any other coping skills.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's definitely so worth it. It's right now you have to do all the hard work about it. But right now, the kid Matthew is reaping the rewards.
I love that. No, it's like so good to hear that. And I know that, a year ago I was probably just really fucking annoying all the time and had no idea. And now I'm just like, a little bundle of nerves, but I'd rather be just like a little bundle of anxiety than fucking annoying. So
no, but Ange, you know this, but you're absolutely I find you to be absolutely hysterical, and I'm glad. Like, I'm so happy for you. I'm so glad that you're sober now, because I really just like. I want to see, like, there's very few comics that I get excited for. Most of them, I'm just like, I want this person to quit right now. This person, and you're one of the very few that I'm like, all right, this is a very unique, interesting voice, and actually, like, an actually funny person. This is what I'm saying. Not to digress again, but there's a bunch of unfunny people in this day and age,
wearing deep V's and smoking weed every day. These fucking clowns.
They're the most crushing bores I've ever met in my life. What makes you do this?
I know,
but it's fun. It's great to see a funny person attempting to do comedy. Attempting. Just
all the jokes I've rotten this year.
That was so condescending.
No, it's not, dude. I really appreciate you saying that. I mean, I obviously. I don't want to like toot your own horn. I don't know if that's an expression, but it is now. I don't want to toot your own horn, but I definitely looked up to you just for exactly like the style and just a drive to never give up no matter fucking what. Because they were definitely, do you remember that show we did in that weird room with the weird Hampshire kids? Do you know what I'm talking about? It was 23 minutes each or something.
Oh yeah. And you did. Yeah. You handled that pretty well. I was actually, because my actual old therapist, he was like the flamenco jazz drummer for the next band, and he like walked in like the beginning of my set, and like he's like right in front of me with his like arms crossed. He didn't laugh at a peep of what I said, as if to like say like you were lying this whole time.
Matt, that's a nightmare. You're describing a nightmare. Your old therapist flamenco drummer walks in during a 23-minute comedy set where there are no chairs. There are no chairs. You're on a stage. You and one other stand-up comedian are just smack in the middle of a bunch of like hardcore bands. Like, and your therapist is standing in front of you with his arms crossed. Like, that's a fucking nightmare.
That's right. We had like a child hardcore band, like right in the between us, right?
Yeah, I kind of wish you and I just like went up together and just like moshed or something weird. Like, but we had to fill 20 minutes, so I don't know.
We did, yeah. That should have been
each.
Should have been a duo. That should have been a duo act in hindsight.
Next time.
Yeah, we had no
next
business.
time.
We had no business.
Yep. All right, dude. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Ann.
All right.
Talk to you later.
Take care. You can follow Matt Woodland on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. You can try and add him on Facebook because he's super funny on there. See if he accepts. It'll be worth it, I promise. Next week, join us again because we have comedian and seamstress extraordinaire Zayat Murphy. Super pumped about that. If you haven't followed the podcast yet, please do. And then give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. That will really help give us some visibility so people that need to hear this can. Thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Ange Buxton, and just don't pick up today, no matter what.